In the same time, probably for the next 10-15 minutes, we'll have Shankar to share about his experience in astrophotography. He's going to share a specific one that he experienced in Coorg last star party. So, Shankar, over to you.
Dr. Hope, I'm not cutting into your time.
He's like relaxing.
Visible?
Yeah.
So, next 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I'm going to talk about an object which we saw in school this February. Okay. And we thought it was a comet. It had a nebulous structure, it was cloudy, it was white. And then we figured out that it was not, finally. So this story is about that. So this is not about a technique or, it's not about a photography technique, not about equipment, not about crossing technique, all that, doctor and others are going to cover. This is just about how you thought that it was some particular object, a comet, and then you figured out it was not. So it was in some attribute stuff. So event happened in Cumulus State. This is in Coorg. Some of us go there to photograph and observe the 8th February. Bangalore, Sakara and myself were there on 7th, 8th night. And 9th, Kirti and a couple of others joined. And then on 10th, there was a vast starfish. So it's a nice place. Coffee plantation. This is this guy, this fellow owner runs a coffee estate there and cleans it out here. And for us, you cleans it out and you can play, your telescope and other stuff here. So this was, just taken soon after the starfish. So that night, 8th night, it was about 3:30 AM. That was a cloudy night, and we couldn't observe anything. Our photography session, we couldn't even pull out again. So we were packing up, and around 3:30, we saw some nebulous object in Centaurs, around Centaurs. Okay. So it was very bright, but there were clouds. We couldn't see it clearly. And within a few seconds, a couple of minutes, it got obstructed. It went behind some trees out there. So we were wondering what's really happening. It was about 3:30. So we thought we would wait. Shubhankar told me, it's not something particular. Maybe it's a star shining through mist and all that. So we waited, and maybe waited about. We packed up, continuing packing up, and around 4 AM again it resurfaced. It was not as bright, but it was still somewhat bright. It was nebulous. So then the next question was, what exactly is it? So we thought, okay, why not do that? Let's take a look. So we had a look, and we were awestruck. So we thought it was a comet. Wow, so we're going to discover a comet. So what do you do? So no, this is not the picture which you do. This is an NASA image of 95. So we thought, what next can we do? We need to take a photograph. So we had a telescope. Shubhankar had a telescope set up. Shadhar and I had some basic camera set up. So we thought, how do we do that? Shubhankar, he comes with all this table, chair, and all that. But unfortunately, there was a tree obstructing his view. So he couldn't take the picture. He was going behind the tree. What about me? So I had this stuff which I had attached to the telescope mount, and we needed an Allen key to remove that and attach it to the camera. I have a 498 for R64 ball head, so I need to do some jiggling around. So in the night I was just struggling. Okay. Then it took some time, and Shadhar was figuring out how to remove the AstroTag stuff and set it up. We were all scrambling to take photographs before it disappeared. So finally, we managed to take some pic. Okay. So this is one pic which we took. So this is like a 20-second exposure at ISO 1600. You can see that this is what we observed. It was probably in the photograph it's not very clear, but what we observed was that it was actually moving. Even when you observe, it was moving. Okay. So in the field of view, binocular field of view, it was moving. So I can see I can show you in the next few pictures how it was moving. So if I forward it a little bit, right? This is like a close-up. It was at 4:46. Half a minute later, it was like this. You can see the movement. So this was very fast. Okay, so and you can see the star trail. This is because of the 20-second exposure. Okay. So then we thought, what's really that? So is that really a comet? Okay. So the reason we suspected it could be a comet is because it's white, it's nebulous, it appears like comet, only water stuff, reflects, things like that. Maybe Shubhankar was telling me maybe it's a comet fragment, we thought maybe a waste dump from ISS. International Space Station, they flush the toilet and water comes out. Not like that. Like they actually conserve water. Okay? They recycle all the water. So this waste dump, happens only very rarely. So this is like some waste dump picture taken by somebody probably 2000, a couple of years back. It happens very rarely. It's not that as if they flush the toilet and you can see some water coming. So that probably was not the case, right? So then, so what really was it? I mean, is it some asteroid? There was a report of asteroid coming up and all, but asteroid is never seen in this way. So you're wondering was it really a comet? Okay, so I was thinking, okay, maybe it's a comet, then I'm going to get really famous. Okay. Maybe. Thank you. It's not that much. At least this much. I should get the big So then that night was spent and it was the next day and Kirti came to discuss with him. Kirti didn't have much clarity. Of course he had some ideas, but we never were sure what exactly is that. So we thought, okay, maybe we could search Google. But the trouble with female estate is that there is no signal at all. So you can't search. So what do we do then? So then one more day passed and the last star party happened there. That was 10, and then we returned back. And then we thought maybe when we came back to Bangalore, we could see in the internet what really is happening. Somebody would have discovered the comet, there would be a lot of news, but there was nothing at all. So then we had a mystery to solve. So I was thinking, okay, maybe I should investigate the ISS dump angle further. Okay? So, okay, I went to the NASA website and assuming that there must be a schedule where they put all these schedules where they flush the toilet, but there is no such thing. Okay? So I thought, maybe I can check with somebody. I can write to somebody like Astrophotography. He was the first, probably one of the first astronauts to tweet from space, ISS. So I thought maybe I'll check with the current group and check whether somebody is available on Twitter or whether I can email them. So I thought I found that this guy, Chris Hadfield, he's a very prolific tweeter. Okay. So I thought I sent him a tweet. This is one of the pictures he took of Hyderabad. Okay. He has about 700k followers in Twitter. You should follow him. Very nice. Okay. Good to know about that. So I asked him, was there a waste dump? And of course he had about 400k followers. No time, so he didn't reply. But then I realized that he had a tweet which said, we had a progress ship which was loaded with trash and it was dumped. But the issue was that was not dumped when we saw the object. It was dumped 2 days later, about 36 hours later. So this couldn't be the issue. So this is like dump ship which they use. This is Soviet ship. It comes to the ISS with supplies and takes back trash and it gets dumped. That's the idea. This was not the case. The next step was maybe we'll check with the satellite observers, CSAT. So there is a mailing list. You should check it out if you are interested in satellite observing. So they have a mailing list and I've been part of the mailing list for many years. I've been observing iridium flares, so I thought maybe I'll check with them. So it's a nice site to have. So I posted a query and many people said, I said Coorg, I forgot to give the latitude. So he said no location, I didn't give any star name. Maybe you saw a balloon, maybe something on Earth, so you were confused. So that was the initial reaction. But then somebody asked how fast was it moving. So here you need to get a perspective of how fast things move. So this is like Earth and the orbits around it. So if you take a geostationary orbit, it takes 24 hours. But if you take a GPS, it takes about 10 hours. If you take typical polar satellites, they take only about 90 minutes to move. So that also translates how fast you see across the sky. So if you take ISS, it just takes about 3-4 minutes. This is one track of ISS from heavens above. Kirti was talking about it yesterday. It starts at 7:17 in the evening and nearly comes out using 4 minutes. Okay. So it just takes 4 minutes. 90 minutes orbits, 4 minutes across the path, typical path. To take GPS, right, it takes about 4 or 5 hours. The GPS is very high. So you can gauge, we are seeing this object, the comet slowly moving across the sky, about quarter of the sky in about 2-3 hours. So maybe for a full pass, about 4 or 5 hours. So it was very high. That's what he was trying to hint at. So maybe something is in between ISS and maybe a geostationary orbit. Something going in between those two. So it gave us a hint that this is that far it is. So then somebody commented, okay, there was an Ariane 5 launch just that very night, half an hour back before we observed this. So this was the very first concrete clue that he said. There was an Ariane 5 launch and this was blasted off at 3:06 a.m. And we saw this at 3:30 first, and then at 4 o'clock till about 5:30. So this was very convincing reply. He said what he saw was that really an excess fuel dump from the final cryogenic stage, third stage. Primarily hydrogen, oxygen dumping out, getting dumped out in the final stage, excess fuel so that it gets burned out. He gave an explanation. It sounded convincing. Now the next step was that how do we verify that this is indeed that? So another guy, a very veteran in this field, gave altitude azimuth coordinate plots for my location. He did all that research, helped me out in the mailing list and sent me this. That perfectly matched. Okay, so next question was, he said, why did you look at this? This looks very close. So why didn't you take a look at your data and confirm whether that is the truth? So then the next step was, how do we do this? So this is what he's referring to. In the upper stage, it burns out. So what really happens is the vehicle, right, it carries two satellites. And this is the part he's referring to. So almost these two satellites and this final stage get separated out, and you can see the fuel dump. So then I was wondering, what next? So looking at the Ariane manual, it's available free on the web. So I checked how it goes. So it goes along the equator. It comes from Coorg in French Guiana. It goes like this along the equator. And this is the final third stage. It's separated out at about 500 kilometers. It goes further up all the way till geostationary orbit. Then I looked at how the orbits are done and how it is pushed at the perigee here, very close to Earth. Then it goes all the way up to the apogee, and then a couple of water fairings later, the satellite finally gets into the geostationary orbit. So all that I did then, and we still have to verify how we could do it. Okay. So then question was how do we check the coordinates? So typically you can use a astrometry program like Astrophotography. Some of the software we are going to probably cover, others are going to cover what is getting used. But this is an astrometry program. Okay, you can use this to get given a star field. It will compute and tell you where exactly it is. If you love you, what is the RA tech. So I tried to run on this photo which we took, and it didn't match. And because of the star trails, it couldn't find exactly. But suppose it could have been found. It will give you something like it's solved in this much time. It will give you RA tech. So this is like one picture, the same weekend I took. And it solved exactly, the Orion Nebula and all that. Okay. So it does that. So now, the only way out was that because it couldn't solve, just make a visual comparison. Okay. So how do you do that? You load download the rocket orbit parameters. You load them in Stellarium, get a track, plot it, and then compare, one by one at each time whether they matched. So that's what we did. I downloaded the parameters, went to the Hilazum sources where you can get satellite parameters. Yesterday, he was saying about this. So then we did all this comparison. Okay. So this is how the first time I want to compare, across the whole span of observation we did for 2 hours. I started with the earliest at 4:37. So this is the Stellarium plot. This is Ophiuchus, the star Ophiuchus. And this is actually, you can see 3 objects. The payload, the final stage, and the 2 satellites. They are very close by because they have just been released. This is a Stellarium plot, and you draw this orbit here. So then this is the photo I took. So you can see that at least visually there is a match here. 3 stars here. This Zeta Ophiuchus is here. It's trailing, but it's here. This star is here. Okay, and all the other stars you can match. It matched very well. Then I want to check whether it matched further times as well. So this is 4:37. Did it for 4:46. Like 19 minutes later, that also matched. This is the bright star is here. It's trailing. This is the objects, 3 objects. This is the first, you see photograph. Again at 5:40, like this, it matched. And again at 5:28, that also matched. So this spanned about 1.5 to 2 hours, and all the photographs matched. So that sort of tells you that is indeed confirming. You can conclude with very good confidence that this is indeed a rocket final stage. So, you have any questions at this time? Do you think this is a good enough analysis and method?
It's excellent. Wow.
So, thank you. So, finally the case was solved. We're happy. So, takeaway is that for this session, few takeaways is that be ready for surprises. You never know what really happened anytime. Be ready. Know your equipment. We were fumbling with our equipment, and we want to figure out what really was going on. Know your equipment well. Keep binoculars handy. Even if you are using a telescope guide, keep a pair of binoculars handy. It comes very easy. Do your research, big. Okay. Do it well. don't give up. Finally, satisfaction is very tremendous. So that night, coming back to that night, the moon was rising. It was just a new moon night, and we were quite happy. And that's about it. Thank you.
Any questions on this? Thanks, Shankar. I guess that was an awesome talk, much better than what I usually do. Okay, one of the takeaways from this session is that astrophotography is not just taking photographs, right? It is a lot to do with knowing things around what you do. Especially if you remember, Dilip sir was talking about how he enjoyed the way he captured photographs more than the photograph itself. And you said hearing Suresh Mohan how he solves the mysteries of the problems that he came across. And as he solved every problem, his images became better and better.